Listen closely, because what you're about to hear isn't just a casual conversation. It's a profound insight into the very essence of your relationships and how you're perceived. My name is Shi Heng Yi, and today we're cutting through the noise to confront an uncomfortable truth. Have you ever felt that nagging feeling that despite all your efforts, something crucial is missing, or worse, diminishing in the eyes of the man you care about? It's not about your inherent worth, which, trust me, is immeasurable and priceless. Instead, we're going to uncover the subtle yet devastating ways your actions and unspoken expectations can inadvertently erode the respect you deserve, ultimately determining whether a man steps up to cherish you or, tragically, looks the other way. If you ignore this wisdom, you risk letting a golden opportunity for true connection slip through your fingers forever. Understand this fundamental truth. If you consistently accept the bare minimum, that's precisely all you will ever receive. You simply cannot allow a man to become comfortable offering a mere 50% of his effort when you are consistently giving 100% of yours. A man's commitment and respect will invariably rise only to the level of expectation you set for him. If you do not explicitly demand respect, consistent effort, and genuine commitment, he will simply not offer it. Observe human nature. Men are, in many ways, like water. They naturally follow the path of least resistance. If there's an opportunity for them to exert less effort and still retain you, they will likely take it. This isn't inherently a reflection of them being bad. Rather, it's a testament to their responsiveness to the standards you consciously or unconsciously enforce. Consider the analogy of a job. If an employer pays you the same salary, whether you work diligently or simply slack off, what would most people eventually do? They'd likely begin to slack. It's inherent human behavior. Relationships operate under a remarkably similar principle. If a man realizes he can routinely arrive late, cancel plans at the last minute, or disregard your emotional needs, and you will consistently remain present and accepting, why would he ever strive to do better? He won't magically transform overnight. He won't suddenly awaken with a profound realization that he should treat you better, even though you readily accept less than his best. No, the pivotal moment a man truly steps up and elevates his behavior is when he genuinely understands that he must, or the inevitable consequence, will be losing you altogether. This subtle erosion of value often begins almost imperceptibly with seemingly minor infractions. Perhaps he occasionally forgets to respond to your texts, or maybe the intentional planning of dates gradually ceases. In these moments, you might rationalize it, thinking he's simply busy or stressed, and so you let these actions slide. However, this pattern eventually escalates. His efforts dwindle because deep down, he knows you'll still be there, consistently available and forgiving. Consequently, you find yourself sitting alone, questioning why he no longer treats you with the same enthusiasm and dedication he demonstrated in the beginning. The answer, though perhaps uncomfortable, is starkly simple. You allowed it. The initial spark of a relationship does not dictate its enduring state. What truly matters is how you actively maintain it. By setting your standards high from the very outset, you present him with a clear choice. Either he steps up to meet your expectations, or he will inevitably step out. And understand this without doubt. If he chooses to step out when confronted with your true worth, he was never the man destined to become what you truly needed anyway. It's crucial to distinguish between being genuinely understanding and becoming an undeserving doormat. True understanding acknowledges that individuals occasionally experience challenging days, personal struggles, or moments of transient weakness. Yet, being a doormat implies perpetually excusing consistently poor behavior, and in doing so, accepting far less than you profoundly deserve. Love, in its truest form, absolutely does not equate to tolerating disrespect. A man, deep down, always knows when he's delivering only the bare minimum, and if you permit that pattern to persist, he will undeniably continue. Your responsibility, therefore, is to unequivocally set the tone for precisely how you expect and deserve to be treated. To be clear, Possessing high standards isn't about being overtly demanding, nor is it about engaging in manipulative games or contriving scenarios to make a man perpetually chase you. Instead, it's rooted in an unwavering knowledge of your inherent worth. It's about unequivocally stating, I deserve a man who consistently follows through on his promises, who makes me feel cherished and genuinely valued, who willingly invests effort, and who treats me with profound and consistent respect. Here's another unfiltered truth. If a man genuinely desires to be with you, he will exert the necessary effort. Men are inherently natural hunters. When they truly want something, they will pursue it with vigor. If he isn't consistently putting in the required work, it is not because he's confused, nor is it because he's afraid. It is unequivocally because he does not value you sufficiently. And if he doesn't value you enough, why are you investing your precious time and energy? Reflect on the most successful women you know, those who cultivate robust and healthy relationships. Do you truly believe they tolerate half-hearted efforts? Absolutely not. They meticulously set a high bar, and the right man inevitably rises to meet it. They certainly don't squander their time begging for affection or perpetually chasing external validation. They possess an innate understanding of their self-worth and confidently disengage from anything that fails to align with it. This is precisely the kind of powerful, self-assured energy you must cultivate. When a man witnesses your unwavering demand for respect, he is presented with a clear dichotomy. He either chooses to respect you or he chooses to leave. In either scenario, you emerge victorious because you've honored yourself. You absolutely must cease operating under the illusion that you can compel a man to change by simply loving him harder or more intensely. That is fundamentally not how genuine transformation occurs. A man does not alter his behavior because you amplify your affection. He changes when, and only when, he authentically desires to. You can offer him your unwavering loyalty, profound affection, and steadfast support, but if he harbors no intrinsic respect for you, he will never truly value any of these offerings. The bedrock of respect, profoundly, begins with what you permit. Each instance you choose to disregard a red flag, you inadvertently teach him that such behavior is acceptable. Every time you accept an apology without demanding and witnessing a tangible change in his conduct, you inadvertently signal that there are no genuine consequences for his actions. This profound insight explains why some men treat certain women with the reverence due to queens, while others are relegated to an afterthought. It isn't about superficial attributes like looks or financial status. It is, at its core, about the strength of your boundaries. If you consistently render yourself always available, perpetually forgiving, tirelessly giving, and never expecting anything in return, you are not truly demonstrating love. You are regrettably making yourself effortlessly easy to be taken for granted. True love ought to be mutual, harmoniously balanced, and profoundly fulfilling. It should never feel like an endless uphill battle to perpetually prove your inherent worth. A man should pursue you, not because you resort to manipulative games, but because he intrinsically values the unique individual you are. And remember, value is not defined by what you assert. It is definitively determined by what you willingly accept. It's time to cease settling for mere potential. Stop passively waiting for him to somehow change. Discontinue creating endless excuses for why he can't be better. If he truly wanted to be better, he undeniably would be. When a man genuinely cares, he fundamentally doesn't risk losing you. He doesn't deliberately keep you in a state of anxious uncertainty. Instead, he communicates his commitment explicitly through his actions, far more than just his words. This is an undeniable truth. A man can discern desperation from a significant distance, and it is never an attractive quality. When you find yourself constantly chasing, begging, or perpetually bending over backward solely to retain his presence, he inevitably begins to lose respect for you. A true queen never petitions for a place at the table. She inherently understands that she is the table. Desperation fundamentally alters the entire dynamic of any relationship. The moment a man perceives that your need for him outweighs his need for you, the power balance unequivocally shifts in his favor. This isn't about feigning disinterest or playing hard to get. It's about profoundly valuing yourself enough to grasp that you should never have to persuade anyone to be in your life. A healthy relationship is founded upon mutual effort, not one person constantly striving to validate their worth while the other merely indulges in the attention. Consider the myriad relationships you've observed where one individual consistently shoulders the majority of the emotional labor, always initiating texts, diligently making all the plans, endlessly forgiving transgressions, and silently tolerating inconsistency. What invariably happens in such scenarios? The other person inevitably grows complacent, begins to take them for granted, and significantly reduces their own effort. Why does this occur? Simply because they realize they don't have to strive for it. There exists no genuine fear of losing you when you inadvertently make it abundantly clear that regardless of his actions, you will consistently remain present. This, precisely, is the core of the issue. When a man knows with absolute certainty that you will not leave no matter how negligible his effort, he eventually ceases to appreciate you. This is why desperation irrevocably eradicates value. It unequivocally signals that you are prepared to accept any meager offering rather than boldly demanding the profound respect and reciprocal effort you genuinely deserve. In stark contrast, a truly confident woman steps into a man's life radiating value, but crucially, she does not make him the sole orbit of her entire world. She possesses a vibrant life distinctly apart from him, rich with her own passions, ambitious goals, and an internal source of happiness. She never haphazardly rearranges her entire existence merely to accommodate his schedule, nor does she beg for his time or attention. When a man witnesses a woman who is profoundly secure within herself, it unequivocally renders her far more attractive. Confidence is inherently magnetic. It communicates to a man, without uttering a single word, that you don't need him, but rather you choose him. This distinction is monumental. When a man understands he is being chosen, not just passively tolerated out of your own fear of solitude, he profoundly respects it. He then rises to the occasion because he knows he is with an individual who will simply not tolerate half-hearted affection. Conversely, when a woman operates from a deep-seated place of desperation, it fundamentally alters her entire demeanor. She begins to concoct endless excuses for poor behavior. She deliberately ignores undeniable signs that he is not truly invested, and she attempts to convince herself that if she only tries harder, loves him more intensely, and sacrifices even more for him, then perhaps he will ultimately change. But that is simply not how it functions. You cannot compel someone to love you by perpetually overextending yourself. In fact, the more you give without true reciprocation, the more he will inadvertently take advantage. He will recognize that he doesn't need to expend any effort whatsoever because you are already tirelessly doing everything. And what is the natural consequence when something is too effortlessly obtained? People invariably fail to value it. Men are innately wired to deeply appreciate what they have invested effort to earn. This isn't about engaging in manipulative games or deliberately creating unnecessary difficulty. It's about profoundly understanding that a man needs to feel as though he is actively earning his rightful place in your life. When everything is passively handed to him without any reciprocal effort, he inevitably begins to lose genuine interest. It's akin to any other aspect of life. When you dedicate yourself to work hard for something, you cherish it more profoundly. But when it's freely bestowed, you often barely give it a second thought. This illuminates why you frequently observe men who once ardently pursued a woman losing all motivation the moment she assumes all the relational labor. The instant she starts bending over backward just to maintain his presence, he inexplicably starts pulling away. This isn't because he's inherently malicious or cruel, it's because it's deeply rooted in human nature. The pursuit, the deliberate effort, the continuous chase. These elements all play a critical role in how deeply a man values a relationship. When you give excessively without receiving meaningful reciprocation, you are, in essence, teaching him that you do not require or expect effort from him. And once that expectation is firmly established, it becomes incredibly challenging to reverse. You cannot begin by pouring everything into a relationship and then abruptly expect him to magically step up later. He won't. He will be bewildered because you've already plainly shown him that he truly doesn't need to do more. This is precisely why establishing your standards early and firmly is of paramount importance. From the very inception of any interaction, you must unequivocally demonstrate that your time, your affection, and your vital energy are inherently valuable resources, not to be carelessly distributed to just anyone who simply asks. A common apprehension among some women is the fear that if they don't tirelessly exert enough effort, the man will inevitably depart. And the unvarnished truth is, perhaps he will. However, if a man's continued presence in your life is solely contingent on you bearing the entirety of the emotional and relational burden, is that truly the quality of relationship you genuinely aspire to have? You should never be in a position where you feel compelled to continually prove your inherent worth to someone who is unable to perceive it for themselves. Nor should you ever be forced to compromise your cherished standards merely to retain someone's fleeting interest. If you find yourself consistently needing to pursue a man, actively chasing his attention and affection, then you are, without a doubt, already entrenched in an unsuitable situation. A high-value woman instinctively recognizes when it's time to gracefully walk away. She profoundly understands that true love is inherently reciprocal, never a one-sided endeavor. She does not passively wait for a man to eventually discern her worth. She already possesses an unwavering self-knowledge of it. She meticulously avoids losing herself within a relationship because she grasps the fundamental truth that her happiness is not contingent upon anyone else. This precisely is the powerful energy that inspires a man to genuinely step up. When he witnesses that you are perfectly complete and content on your own, he awakens to the realization that he must genuinely contribute something substantial and valuable to your life. He instinctively understands that you are not desperate for his affection, and this very assurance renders you profoundly more attractive. Desperation unequivocally pushes a man away, while genuine confidence effortlessly draws him in. This isn't about cultivating arrogance or engaging in manipulative tactics. It's about possessing an internal certainty that you are intrinsically worthy of love and profound respect, without ever needing to beg for it. A man will only ever treat you with the level of consideration and esteem that you unequivocally demand to receive. If you are content with mere crumbs, then crumbs are precisely all you will ever obtain. However, if you establish and uphold a robust standard, the right man will rise with alacrity to meet it, and the wrong one will, fittingly, fade away. And that, unequivocally, is exactly what you should desire. Crucially, the way you treat yourself explicitly instructs a man how he, in turn, should treat you. If you consistently permit toxic behaviors, endless excuses, or overt emotional neglect, you are inadvertently sending a clear and devastating message. I do not value myself enough to bravely walk away. The language you use when speaking about yourself and the manner in which you permit others to treat you hold immense significance. A man keenly observes what you consistently tolerate, and that observation reveals everything he fundamentally needs to understand. If you perpetually forgive acts of disrespect, he learns implicitly that he has no genuine incentive to alter his behavior. If you repeatedly accept apologies without demanding and witnessing concrete changes in his actions, he quickly realizes that there are no authentic consequences for his transgressions. And once he apprehends this absence of consequences, the detrimental cycle inexorably perpetuates itself. It's a profound truth that individuals do not treat you solely based on their inherent character. They treat you precisely based on what you permit. Reflect upon the most resilient women you know, those who effortlessly command respect and seem to cultivate relationships where they are undeniably cherished and deeply valued. Do you truly believe they achieved this by complacently accepting half-hearted affection or mediocre effort? Unquestionably not. They meticulously established the unequivocal tone from the very beginning. They steadfastly refused to engage with men who introduce confusion or inconsistency into their lives. They do not squander their precious time meticulously explaining why they inherently deserve better. They possess an unshakable self-awareness that they already do and they decisively walk away from anything less than that profound realization. Self-respect is not about embodying harshness or emotional coldness. It is about cultivating an understanding of your intrinsic worth so profound that you simply refuse to engage in anything that diminishes it. When a man witnesses your unwavering self-respect, he comes to recognize that being in your presence is an absolute privilege, not an inherent right, and privileges unequivocally must be earned. If he consistently disrespects you, he forfeits access to you. It truly is that straightforward. However, all too frequently, women extend unlimited chances, accepting behaviors they intuitively know are wrong, primarily because they are paralyzed by the fear of losing the man. But ponder this: what purpose does it serve to retain someone who consistently fails to respect you? A relationship devoid of mutual respect is merely loneliness, cloaked in the guise of companionship. You must possess the fortitude to actively enforce your boundaries. For a boundary devoid of meaningful consequences is nothing more than a faint suggestion. If, for instance, you assert that you will not tolerate dishonesty, yet subsequently discover him lying and take no remedial action, you have inadvertently taught him that your words are ultimately meaningless. He now understands that lying carries no authentic cost, and where there is no cost, there can be no genuine change. A man absolutely needs to internalize that if he doesn't treat you right, he will unequivocally lose you, not as an empty threat, but as an undeniable reality. Because a woman who genuinely respects herself does not idly linger, passively hoping a man will miraculously transform. She decisively departs when she ascertains he simply will not. This insidious pattern often commences with minor offenses. Perhaps he casually cancels plans last minute without a legitimate reason, or he dismisses your genuine feelings when you attempt to express concern, or he might even joke about things that cause you pain, fully expecting you to simply laugh it off. If you allow these seemingly trivial transgressions to slide, they inevitably metastasize. What begins as a subtle disregard for your emotions slowly morphs into full-blown emotional neglect. And by the time you fully comprehend the sheer volume of disrespect you've tolerated, it often feels overwhelmingly late to instigate any meaningful change. Yet mark these words: it is never too late. The very moment you consciously decide to embrace and embody self-respect is the precise moment you irrevocably alter the way people treat you for good. A man meticulously observes the way you present and carry yourself. If you habitually apologize excessively, he will gradually begin to internalize the belief that every issue is inherently your fault. If you are constantly seeking his validation and approval, he will realize he can strategically withhold it as a means of controlling you. If you elevate him to become the exclusive center of your entire universe, he will inevitably begin to behave as though he is inherently superior to you. And this dynamic isn't born out of inherent male cruelty. It is simply a fundamental principle of human psychology. People will invariably test boundaries, sometimes even unconsciously. This underscores precisely why you must establish them early and consistently reinforce them without wavering. When you wholeheartedly choose to treat yourself with profound respect, it irrevocably alters everything. You will cease to over-explain your positions. You will stop fruitlessly attempting to convince someone else to recognize your intrinsic value. You will no longer passively wait for a man to acknowledge your worth, because you have already profoundly recognized it within yourself. And the transformative moment you truly embody this self-recognition, you will inevitably begin to attract an entirely different caliber of man. Individuals who discern and admire your inherent strength, those who consistently step up rather than regress, and those who require no instruction on how to love you correctly, they simply do. But this profound shift will only manifest when you resolutely cease fabricating excuses for his poor behavior. Stop believing the perilous myth that simply loving him more will miraculously induce change. Stop fruitlessly hoping that one day he will spontaneously awaken and suddenly appreciate you. A man profoundly appreciates what he genuinely has to earn. If you render yourself too effortlessly available, too easily taken for granted, he will, without question, take you for granted. If you fail to demand his genuine effort, he simply will not offer it. If you permit disrespect to slide unchallenged, he will relentlessly continue to push those boundaries, further diminishing you. This is precisely why respecting yourself extends far beyond your internal feelings. It is profoundly about what you consistently allow. You cannot logically expect a man to treat you better than you consistently treat yourself. If you perpetually relegate yourself to the lowest priority, he will invariably follow suit. If you allow others to disregard your needs in other aspects of your life, he will logically conclude that it is perfectly acceptable for him to do the same. True confidence is diligently cultivated through consistent action. The more you consciously practice self-respect, the more intrinsically natural it becomes. You will spontaneously stop needing to articulate why you deserve better, because your actions will powerfully communicate it already. You will cease chasing after love, because you will understand, with undeniable clarity, that genuine love will never necessitate pursuit. And let us be absolutely clear on this crucial distinction. Self-respect does not equate to feigning indifference, nor does it involve engaging in manipulative games or deliberately maintaining distance merely to test a man. Instead, it signifies a profound inner wisdom of precisely when to courageously walk away. It means unequivocally refusing to compromise your deeply held standards simply to retain someone's superficial interest. It is the unwavering understanding that genuine love ought to evoke feelings of profound safety and security, never the exhausting strain of a continuous battle for external validation. A man who truly values you will willingly and eagerly rise to meet your established standards. A man who does not will inevitably lament that you are asking for too much. When faced with such a complaint, gracefully release him. The single most powerful and transformative action you can undertake within any relationship is to cultivate an understanding of your inherent worth so deeply rooted that you will never, ever settle for less. When a man genuinely perceives that you hold yourself to an elevated standard, he is presented with an unavoidable choice. He either steps up to meet you at that level, or he inevitably steps aside. And that, unequivocally, is precisely the outcome you desire. For the right man, the man truly aligned with your spirit, will not be intimidated by your profound self-respect. Rather, he will be powerfully inspired by it, seeing it as a beacon of your undeniable strength and integrity.